Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the globe. Thank you for joining us on our Because I Am an African Woman and our first episode, Makala, which is the name for queen in Swahili. So today I would like you to join us in meeting our panelists, which is our group of women across the globe that all share the common African country and our diaspora land, to show a different type of perspective globally. So I will start with introducing our panelists and having them speak quickly, between 2 to 3 minutes, about what it means to them and the impact of being an African woman. If you are in the United States, happy Mother's Day to you as well. So thank you for joining us, and we welcome you to our hour, and I will start bringing our guests, our panelists in shortly. So we'll start with Lillian,
Hello.
Diana, sorry, you're
Hi.
my girl.
Hi.
Tina Bria, I'm sorry, I know I mess up your vibes. We're gonna do Janet. Janet, how are you? And if you guys
Greetings.
can mute yourself as we go in. Edwina, we're gonna bring into the paddle.
Hi.
And Erichi. I always mess up your name, but you're gorgeous. So what we're going to do, as each panelist mutes themselves, we're going to start with Lillian and just give that 2 to 3 minute of what makes you an African woman and what has influenced you as an African woman.
So, greetings, everybody, and welcome to our first episode. I'm very excited to be among all these wonderful panelists and my wonderful sisters. So my name is Lillian. I am based in the UK. I'm an educator. I'm a mother. I'm also a researcher. And my journey as an African woman started in Germany, of all places. So I was born in Germany. I relocated to the UK about 8 years ago. But I was born in Germany, and quite early on, I identified myself as African or Ghanaian. And I got a lot of backlash saying, "Oh, you're German. You're born in Germany. You're German. The way you speak is German. The way you think is German." I said, "No, I'm Ghanaian." So quite early, I was quite conscious of the fact that I am an African. At some point in my teenage years, I got a lot of criticism of how or what I think, or how I think, or what I think about certain things. So I was then told by some fellow Africans that I indeed wasn't African, which was a heartbreaking moment for me. So at some point, I stopped identifying as African, and I said, "Okay, I'm a Black cosmopolitan." So I referred to myself as Black cosmopolitan and came up with this term, Black cosmopolitan. I don't know, for quite a while, and then I had this defining moment where I researched a little bit, and I learned about Kwame Nkrumah and his amazing famous quotes of Africa. I'm not African because I was born in Africa. I'm African because Africa was born in me. And I've realized that my Africanness is not defined by how other people see me, or what I do, or what I think, or any of these kind of things. My Africanness is what I think. I identify myself as African, and nobody else can tell me who I am and what I am not, and how I am supposed to be African. So that is my short journey as an African woman. Yes, thank you.
Lillian, you are amazing. Thank you so much for your introduction. And we'll just move to our next panelist. Just because she's next to you, Diana, I'm going to bring her in. And thank you. We'll bring you back, Lillian. And for our audience, just drop in in our chat where you're viewing us from. And Diana, take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Diana Markey Solomon, and I'm a woman who wears many hats. I've been doing so many things over the years. Primarily, I'm an administrator. Currently, I work as a occupational health and well-being coordinator. But there are many things that I do. But I'm a Carib. Well, I was born in the UK to Caribbean parents. My parents are from St. Lucia, but I define myself as an African woman, and I consider myself to be an African woman. What makes me an African woman? Not being born on the continent, I suppose, makes me more than my continental African sisters need to define this and almost justify it more. It's not lost on me that there are those from the continent who do not consider us born outside of Africa to be as African as they are. And in fact, I had a discussion with a fellow African Caribbean sister recently who spoke of her hurt by the insensitive and condescending attitude some continental Africans have towards us, simply because we lack, I suppose, the privilege of being born on the continent. It's as though, although we see ourselves as African, we're not quite African enough to them. And it's almost like we're mocked because we call ourselves African, but we don't even have any experience of being African, if you see what I mean. And when I speak, I'm speaking for those of us who didn't even have the pleasure of even growing up in the Caribbean, let alone Africa, but due to the migrations of our parents, we were born and raised somewhere in Europe, for example. So, and yet there is something inside us, and there's something inside me that cannot deny my African identity. Not everyone understands it or even appreciates it, but I cannot see it any other way. I have friends and family who look at me puzzled with dismay when I tell them I'm returning home to Africa. Why Africa? They exclaim, as if I've mentioned a dirty word or something. But I found myself trying to justify it when really, in actual fact, my response ought to simply be, why not? Why not Africa? But I understand where they're coming from. They still have no real understanding of who they really are. Okay, but when your eyes have been opened to who you are, you can't close them again. And this is the case with me. That's the case with me. So to the crux of the question, what makes me an African woman? The fact that I have to explain it feels like a mountain that I have to climb to justify my existence. However, I'm grateful for the opportunity because what I have to say needs to be said. So my response is, look at me, look at who I am. Do you really want me to go there to explain that my ancestors were stolen from the west coast of Africa after traveling thousands of miles on foot by force, by slavers? That my ancestors were brutalized and tortured and murdered, raped, sodomized, and destroyed physically and spiritually while their slavers thrived and enriched themselves by systematically murdering them for enforced barbaric labor as they were worked to death? Do you really want me to tell you that I'm a survivor of survivors who is still trying to survive as the struggle continues? And it is as if I have been chosen by my ancestors to return home on their behalf to the continent because their spirit yearned to return to the home that they were stolen from. I may not have been born in Africa, but Africa is born in me. Whether I like it or not, I'm African. Whether you accept it or not, I'm African. And I have a bit more to share, but I'll save that for a bit later.
I can so relate with what you're saying, Diana, and thank you so much for starting and the one panelist that shares my name, and I appreciate sharing it with her. So we'll take you and definitely bring that discussion back into the panel,
Okay.
and we're just going to move on to next to you, okay? And we're going to have Zimbuya. You're going to come up here and pronounce your name for me properly. My beautiful queen, Zimbuya.
Hi, Diana. Siongua.
Hi. Ziambuya. Thank you. Okay, so Ziambuya, my beautiful queen who has next.
Yes.
So these are the names that I should. Ziambuya.
Yes.
These are the names as an African woman I should know properly, but my Americanized self messes it up. So let's take it off. Take it away.
It's okay. First of all, thank you so much. This is a show that we have been looking for quite a while, and I'm so happy to be part of this panel. My name is Yomwa Kibue, and I'm from Kenya. what makes me an African woman, other than being born in this beautiful continent, is being able to grow into who I am right now. It's been a journey, and of course, for the better part of it, I think I grew into knowing fully who I am and embracing who I am. In my 30s, as of course many know, in your 20s, you're basically trying to figure out who you are. And I got to embrace this beautiful person that I am, an African woman. I came into my voice. I got to embrace my culture. I got to meet beautiful women from around the world who are African, and have to and realize that we have so much in common, despite the fact that we've been raised in different places. Africa is part of us. Africa is us. Africa is in our bloodline. We are here no matter what we can say. I have loved being, and there's no words to explain how happy I am that we are in this time and era of where African women are able to come out and have a conversation, and we are able to speak about our experiences and being able to talk about who we are. I have loved this journey all the way through. I love being who I am. I love the fact that I have different experiences from everybody else, but somehow our experiences are so much alike, and it's just a blessing to be able to be in this position and be in this time right now, and being in this moment of where, as an African woman, I'm able to talk about it freely, and just I can't explain it other than that. Diana?
Well, I appreciate your beautiful words. Hopefully, you could still hear me, but I appreciate your words, and
Yes,
we're
I
going
can.
to take it. Okay, good. And we're going to take it to the next panelist. Thank you so much. All right. So next we have, I'm just going to go in to out, is then actually, should I go out to in? Edwina. I'll just start with Edwina. Um, take it away from one of our elder women. We could take it away and let us know what is inspiring to you as an African woman.
Because I'm an African woman, I transcend the common false stereotype depicted of us by the powers that should not be. In fact, I rise so high above it, despite many challenges that I faced during my lifetime thus far, and it got me to where I am today. A strong, beautiful, Black, African woman. I am Edwina, born in Africa, from Africa, but born in Liberia. Before I continue on talking about what defines an African woman, I want to first tell my melanated sisters worldwide, even the ones in the panel who were not actually born in Africa, you're all Africans. Whether you were born in Africa or not, we love you all. Don't ever feel that you're not a part of us. You are. As long as you carry the sacred melanin on you, you are 100% African. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Okay? Now, what is an African woman? According to the Urban Dictionary, the definition of an African woman conjures images of starvation, illiteracy, and oppression. Someone to be pitied. She screams development aid and should appreciate that the world has come to her rescue. But according to me, those that wrote that Urban Dictionary must be high on drugs. They must be very delusioned, and they must be clueless about the reality of what it is to be an African woman. The strong Black African woman has been standing tall for many decades. She's unbreakable, resilient, and almost superhuman-like. So my advice to all of my global melanated sisters out there is to stay strong in your Blackness, as that is the highest level of beauty in this world. that we can achieve. Follow your dreams, please. Make them a reality.
I don't know if you saw me cheering out
Remember,
here.
remember
Oh, you're still going.
to be gentle, to be kind, to be humble when needed, and strong, assertive, and determined when necessary. Last but not least, please, 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 remember to live in love and not fear. To have love in your heart always for your loved ones and your global melanated sisters and global melanated family. Our power is stronger when we link together in love as a global African women group. Tuko pamoja. Thank you.
You are a mother in this group, and I was just sitting here like, preach, mom. So, thank you, Edwina, for the panel. And then we're gonna go next to um, Iribuchi. You're gonna help me with your name too. The American in me. Help the American in me.
Thank you.
The
Good day. It's pronounced Eberechi. Eberechi. Yeah,
Eberechi. Thank you for
yeah.
your time, and you can take the floor, my wonderful
Thank you.
queen.
Okay. My name is Eberechi Mweze. I'm a Nigerian and born in Nigeria. So I'm a caterer. I run a culinary brand. Although I'm working on my career because I dream to be a professor. Okay, what has shaped me to be the African woman that I am? I spent most of my life in Western Nigeria, mostly occupied by the Yorubas. And as a result of upbringing and all of those, I got sensitive to culture. I was resulting from the Nigerian civil war. Like, oh, see, you're an Igbo girl. See, an average Yoruba doesn't want to see you, doesn't like you, so don't believe these people love you. But I spending most of my life in Western Nigeria amongst Yorubas of different tribe. I realized that we are one. We may speak different language, we may have some differences in culture, but we are one. And I realized that those people who have been made to believe that are bad are good people, and ever since then it changed my opinion. And I'm like, oh no, this African culture, this I must just go for it. I got used to the Yoruba culture in line with my Igbo culture, then tried interacting with every other person. So I became less sensitive to culture and embrace everyone. And I'm so happy to be here to get to share my experience of being an African woman, making others realize that as African women, we are one, irrespective of our different culture and languages. Thank you, Sister Diana.
Thank you. And I hope you saw that comment. We're in love with you. So next we have Jeanette on our panel. Come up as well, my queen, and take it on. You're muted. There you go.
Hello,
So take it on and tell us what
greetings
makes it
everyone.
greetings. Tell us what it makes important and inspirational to you as an African woman.
Well, first of all, let me say, if you'd asked me 15 years ago, I wouldn't have described myself as an African woman. I probably would have said I was Black British. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have said I was a Jamaican woman. And now, sitting here before you today, I can say I'm an African woman. But it's been a journey, a long journey. Self discovery, exploration, history, of the empire, Africa, Jamaica, and DNA testing. So it has been a journey. I would say, certainly for me, there was a point in time when I felt quite rejected by Jamaicans because they would call me English when I'd go back home, because I speak so English to them. And certainly I've had conversations with continental Africans who have effectively told me I'm not an African woman. But, having done my DNA testing and also spent time researching what, myself, I know that I am. So I'm really honored to be here as part of the panel, and to call myself an African woman. Yeah.
And thank you so much for that. And I guess I will go last for this. So thank you. And as a host, Diana Ravalis, I will say for my experience as an African woman is that I have realized in my time I am a Haitian American born in America, but what has made me identify as an African woman is the Ubuntu way of looking at my panelists, hearing stories globally, and even in the States, and realizing how much we are the same. Understanding my passions from for health, for education, for justice. It's the same as Felicite for the Empress in Haiti, who was also just women that came from West Africa. So it speaks into the DNA of who we are and what we are. The fact that we're chill from our smile all the way to our toes. And we cradle a society, a community, our children. And we should cradle each other, adjust each other's crown, because nobody looks better in a crown than us. So that's where I will go with it. And hopefully we can just have the rest of our panelists come in. So we'll just add everybody in. Ladies, I am so excited to finally have this day and have you guys all here. You gave amazing insight to what it is to be an African woman. And I would just love to kind of continue the conversation on some of the points you brought up. Jeanette, I can definitely understand, not being enough. Not enough Haitian, not enough American. Diane, the same, being Caribbean, but not enough African to the African continent, and to our sisters who sit right on the continent, who give us so much enlightening ways to become a part and give us so much open arms. Help us become more of you, Ubuntu. I see you, you see me. What do we do as women across the globe? Any of you can answer if you like, or I'll pick you. I'll pick you. What do you think we should do in connecting ourselves, especially in our first episode of being queens? What would we say to our global networks of queens to unite us in feeling more of connected to our African lands and connected to each other?
I will start as part of what Diana had said, and I would like to say is you are welcome home anytime, and every Black woman who is out there and feels like Africa is home, you are welcome home anytime. This is Africa. Africa is ours. We cannot there is no possible way of being able to lock someone out. This is our home. We all came from here. Africa is our motherland. It is our roots, you know. As in, no matter where you go, they say east or west, home is best. And if you realize that no matter where you are, there's always that connection to Africa as a whole. No matter where you were born, no matter where you're from, there's this thing that pulls us back, you know? And there's that sense of, I would call it entitlement to home. And Africa is home. And anytime you wanna come, this is home. You wanna visit Kenya? I'm in Kenya. So please welcome anytime. And we'll definitely take a tour around. Personally, I've been trying to tour Africa so that I'm in a position to also understand where I am from. So I started this challenge of visiting the 54 countries in Africa so that no one can really tell me about Africa because, hey, I've gone through all 54 of them. And so I would definitely tell you, come. There's so much to learn. Even I, who's in Africa, still has a lot to learn. So of course, it's a journey, and it's a journey I am telling everyone, please come, let's take it.
That means
Yeah.
a world from here. Go ahead, Lily. Lillian.
We are coming. We're coming. And I hope you don't regret that. We're coming. No, absolutely. And it is. I think with the herd, I personally felt it's the majority of continental Africans are very welcoming. That it is really like that. The most welcoming people on this planet. I'm just absolutely. But the words obviously that hurt are normally always a bit louder, isn't it? So what if you have like 100 beautiful welcoming words, the one voice that is that sticks with you is the one that is that causes hurt. And yeah, I think we kind of, what we need to do is we just need to stay strong in our conviction, in our understanding of who we are, and that we are Africans, and no matter what anybody else says or thinks, we are Africans. We know who we are. We know it. And I think Sister Janet said before that she made a DNA test, and I think and us being on a Pan-African platform, if we all did, I'm very convinced, and I want to do that as well at some point. I think if we all did DNA testing, we will be surprised of how we're made of different African countries and cultures. And I think that is something that we all should do, to be honest. So I'm quite excited about this. Especially if we look at our history, and that some of these countries didn't exist, over not even like 200 years ago. Some of them, then so that we really need to understand that we are Africans, and not only define our colonial borders. Yeah. So
Okay,
yeah,
well, I have to say that as much as I expressed the pain of my sister, my Caribbean sister, who said, this is how she feels, and this is her experience. And it is true, there is that negative. But I have to say, and I have to confirm, that when I visited Africa for the first time, and I went to Ghana because my husband is Ghanaian, and I received the warmest welcome. I felt like I was home, and that is how we're supposed to feel. I came home and I was welcomed, and I was told immediately, this is your home. This is your home. And this is the general response that people get when they go to Africa, to the continent for the first time. Majority of the people feel that way, and it is true. Africa does welcome us. Africa does welcome us. And those that don't, I think it's just a matter of education. Yeah. Even our Caribbean brothers and sisters who don't understand why we want to return to Africa, again, it's a matter of education for them too. Yeah. So the way to fix the issues that we have is simply education. And the more we can get knowledge out there of our history and dispel all the negative history that we've been fed for so long, and put it in its right context and its right historical context, that goes a long way to fixing the things that divide us and pulling us more together. And I'm vice chair of the Luton Sankofa UK, and this is exactly what we do. We've been doing it for the past 6 years, putting on events where we educate people in the community of where we're coming from, our rich history that preceded and predated, the African Holocaust. And when we can understand that richness of who we are, where we're coming from, it moves aside the negative idea of returning to Africa. And it makes you want to return to Africa because you realize my ancestors were glorious. That little aspect of negative history doesn't define me as a Black person, as an African person. It really doesn't define me. I'm greater than all of that. So it's all about the education. I think that's what will help us all to connect more and come together more.
Yes. And to just add on that, I know there's a lot of misconception of Africa on its own. And I think it's because there's a lot of misinformation that has been passed out, that people really don't know much about home. Africa did not begin with slavery. It didn't begin with colonization. We had kings and kingdoms, and in every corner of Africa, there was a kingdom that was occupying that area in the VCs and prior to that. And I believe most of the people who do not understand is because they do not understand where we came from. A lot of what we know is about that aspect of colonization and slavery and what came after. But once we start teaching people that no, 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 our people were great, we are actually from different kingdoms. We are royalty from whatever it is that you see and whatever events that you see it, as long as this is you, you're from royalty bloodline. Royalty is part of you because Africa is royalty. And once we get to understand that, then we get to embrace and feel the energy that comes from home. And you see why you want to be connected to what I consider Africa, which is basically the tree of life.
Our bottom
Okay,
panels
I quickly want to say
aligned.
this.
Yeah. The little I lied. What do you guys think, Jeanette, Edwina, Ruchi? What would you think?
Well, certainly.
What would I say about reconnecting to Africa? Or
We were talking about like as women that just enhancing what we were speaking of, the connections and what
reconnecting,
as
reconnecting.
women. And then like
Okay.
what would you say globally to us as women? And then after that, I have a different question for you guys.
Okay. Well, I have a mixed experience from an African being born on the continent and living there for a few years, but also living out in the diaspora as an African as well. So I can see it from both sides. One thing I can say though is that whether or not you were born in Africa, whether or not you've been there, it tends to call to you. It tends to call to you. And so when that happens, you should listen to that call. Even if you don't know anyone there, you can always reach out. If it calls you, listen to that call. And I think it's calling a lot of people now. So we need to reconnect with our roots because we need to reconnect with our history. We need to totally unlearn what we have been told because we have been so far only understanding. We need to unlearn all of that, get rid of it, erase it, paint it black, and start learning the truth, start learning about our history, start learning about who we are. But most of all, we need to start learning about ourselves as individuals. We need to ask ourselves, who am I? Do I know you? I would like to get to know you because you cannot know your past or your history if you don't not know yourself. So it's a whole lot of work up to do out there, and we have a lot of work to do. We have little time, so we need to buckle up and start get rid of understanding, try to go into inner standing so that we can overstand in the end. We need to learn who we are from in. We need to learn our history. We need to learn about our ancestors. We need to learn and understand that we are the custodians of this planet. And we're not going anywhere. We need to
Preach.
learn
Just
that.
keep preaching, Edwina. Keep preaching.
I'm just
Bro,
saying it as I know it to be the truth. Cheers, ladies.
cheers, cheers. Yes. Janet, what do you think? And you're the reason I'm telling you, this is why I want gray hairs, guys, because with each one you get more wise. And I want her wisdom. Go ahead.
They're
Well,
all over.
well, I was going to say actually, it's interesting because um, if I go back to what Lily was saying in terms of the DNA test, and I did mine when I was pregnant or early stages of pregnancy, partly because I thought, oh, I'm going to bring a little girl into the world, and I want to give that strong foundation of and sense of self, if that makes sense. And my DNA test came back and it was Ghanaian, Nigerian, Senegalese, Congolese, like literally, I think there was a percentage for most states in Africa, or countries in Africa, you know what I mean. But and at that point I kind of thought, oh, you know what, I don't need to spend time, you know, going around saying I'm, you know, Jamaican or I'm actually Ghanaian or anything. I can just say I'm an African woman because I can claim most lands, you know. And obviously there weren't borders in the way that there are now back then, if you see what I mean. But you know, I can claim most lands, and that gave me, I don't know if the confidence is the word I'm looking for, but certainly the confirmation. So you know, so I walk with a slightly different kind of air about me. And it's funny because obviously, Sinabua, you're obviously going and traveling all the, you know, traveling around, and I want to be with you because I literally feel like I need to learn I need to visit everywhere, I need to go everywhere. Okay, partly because of my DNA, but also partly just because why not, we're African women, why not learn a slightly different culture, why not, you know. And so it's funny from that point of view because I kind of think, oh, I want to be on your bus. Like, I don't know what your plans are. Can you share your plans? When you're going to get there, you know? Maybe we could, maybe we could do a few stops. My daughter's young, so I can take her out of nursery. It's okay, you know. It work, you know. And then and then going back to Sister Edwina, it's funny because, so talking about a sense of self and giving that to the youngsters coming up, and I remember I must have been about 24. My first proper serious boyfriend, he was Ghanaian, and I remember an elder, a Caribbean elder, basically saying to me that it would be better if I got a white boyfriend than an African boyfriend because they're not like us. And, you know, with that type of mindset, you know, feeding into our youngsters, we have to be louder. We have to be louder because, I mean, she's not with us anymore. But if she was, I would, you know, I'd be happy to pass over my, like, you know, my results and say, well, you know, science doesn't lie, you know, but, you know, these are certain mindsets that I certainly have been subjected to whilst growing up that, you know, I want to protect my child from, and other, you know, young ladies coming up who are African women, you know. But it's all about, you know, education, because obviously the education that she had is different to the education that I had and have, you know, since gone out and done work myself, and different to what the education my daughter's going to have, if you see what I mean. And we have to tap into that. We really have to tap into that. You know, those who aren't, who say, oh, you know, I am, you know, those who don't know that they are African children, it's an education. We need to educate them. We need to talk to. We need to spend time with them. We need to show them why actually you are loved, and you, as you were saying, you are loved. You can come here. It is a place of salvation, for want of a better word. You know, you know. So that's what I would add.
On mute. I'm on mute. What would you think?
Okay,
And no, I messed your name up, but what would you think, my love?
okay. All of the comments has really been wholesome, especially with the DNA. It has made things very easy and easy to retrace your one's past. And like it has earlier been mentioned, education has a lot to play in this role. And like I said, Edwina mentioned history. We really need to revisit our history if we really want to understand who we really are as African women, because while growing up with all of the discrimination, you're not Igbo, you're Igbo, you can't blend with Yorubas and all of that, like, I discovered that it's really not so. Spending most of my life among Yorubas, the love I've received from their hand and everything made me realize, as African women based in the continent and in diaspora, we are one. In as much the African blood runs in us, we are one. And it's very easy to learn the culture. The culture is simple, it's loving, it's easy to embrace. And getting good knowledge of our history helps one trace once past. It helps you have a good definition of who you are. It helps you have a picture you can portray to the world about who you really are. Like when I had a change of my surname from, I was formerly bearing Okunko. When I had to change to Wings, I was like, why the change of surname? And I got to realize, oh, in Igbo tradition, this is how things are being done over a particular decade. There is need for the change of surname. So the name of a particular generation or the particular grandfather is not being forgotten. So we just researching into one history has a lot to do with understanding oneself. Although I didn't live most of my life in Igbo land, I didn't live most of my life in Igbo land. When I became an history student in undergraduate studies, I got to realize that wow, there's so much to just being named an African. There's so much to just being to just saying I am an African. There's so much to it. It's not just enough to say I am an African. It's not just enough to say I am a Nigerian. But if you're saying these things, let us see the culture in it. Let us see the language in it. Let us see the love for being an African. So it's like embracing being an African, embracing the culture, embracing the language, seeing each and every one of seeing all of ourselves as one. There may be diversity in African language, but I tell you, it's like it's linked based on researches that has been made. And sincerely, I look forward to like learning other African culture, because it's like there's so much in it, and I really really love it. The dance, the culture, the music. Like I so much enjoy the traditional music more than the contemporary. It's whenever I want to like chill myself, I just go on, play traditional music, and I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this thing, because it's not just the sound, but it has a whole lot of message to pass in it. It has a lot of message to pass in it in regards to the culture, in regards to the history, in regards to the norms, the traditions, and a whole lot. So the African, being an African woman is a whole lot to enjoy. I tell you, you will really, really enjoy it. In as much you learn to embrace the culture, you learn to love the culture, you learn to love the people, and you're proud of it.
I believe that like our platform needs a soundtrack with how good the music is versus what we're hearing in 2021 nowadays. Okay, so you're so right. But with that being said, too, let me ask you, ladies, where as African women abroad and on land has being in your skin been pulled strength in you? Where does it help you be the strongest as being an African woman? Because right now it is hard. We're watching a lot of things against ourselves, our children, our boys, our girls, what of your melanation sparks your strength? And any one of you can start, and then I'll just go next.
Okay, for me personally, it is really the journey and understanding life as a journey, to be honest, and seeing myself as part of the global melanated family, okay, of the global African family, and understanding my purpose on this, or what I think is my purpose on this world, and in this world, and seeing, okay, how can I, as somebody who was born in the West, or somebody as somebody who knows who they are, or is on the way of understanding who I am, how can I support my brothers, my sisters in their journey, and what can I do? So for me personally, it's purpose. And I'm very passionate about education. You will hear me speak a lot about education, because that's just what I'm very, very passionate about. And that's also what my research is about. I'm researching about Afrocentric education. So what does our education system have to look like that it empowers people of African descent? What does it have to look like? What do we need to teach? And what positive effects will that have? And I can see it on myself. I can see it on my daughter. She goes around talking about black girl magic at some point. She just a funny anecdote. So I was so my daughter came back home, and then she was like very serious, and I said, okay, what's happening? And then she said, she said that some boys were fighting with her, and I said, okay. She said she warned them. I said, okay. She said, if you don't stop, I'm going to use my black girl magic on them. And I found it so funny, and I found it and I was like, okay, you know, she gets to know who she is. She knows, she goes around saying she's an African, and she's happy and proud of her Africanness. And that is something of the few things I'm proud of. That is what I'm proud of. And I hope it stays like this. And I just want to, and that's where I see my purpose, just encouraging other people to see their Africanness and walk with pride in their Africanness. And yes, so for me, as I said, it's purpose. Sorry, that was a long answer. Yes, thank you.
But it was righteous. Edwina, you wanted to say something next.
Yeah. For me, I came into my Africanness quite late in life. I would say since I moved to Norway a few years ago. Prior to that, although I was born on the continent, and although I spent the first few years of my life there, I spent most of my life in Europe. It's sad to say that I did not identify with Africa or Blackness. It's not that I avoided it, but I was just not in those circles that I had to get to know it. That coupled with the fact that we were all taught non-Black history. So all my friends were non-Blacks. My best friends were male. Even with Black women, I could not bond with them. And I thought it was normal. I thought it was natural. During all those years, I even went multiple times to Africa. I stayed there for a few years. I did projects there, but I never really bonded with Africans in Africa until, oddly enough, I moved to a small village in Norway. I left a big city, and I did something that I never thought I would do. I opened a store with arts and crafts and everything African. It's when I started Splash of Africa in Mjøndalen. And that's when I got to actually know Africans. Really. It's unbelievable. That's when my Blackness opened up. That's when my love for Africa opened up. That's when I started to bond with Black women. That's when I started to bond with my Black brothers. That's when I started to get interested in African culture. That's when I started to wake up and realizing that Africa is beautiful. We are beautiful, and our culture is so goddamn beautiful. And I am grateful. I am grateful for this community that I'm in, for the people that I see every day. They're like family to me. I have families from Congo, from Zimbabwe, from Kenya. They're all from different parts of Africa. They call me the grandma. I'm the grandma. I'm the auntie. But they made me embrace my Africanness. And since I started that, there is no going back. I am totally blackwashed.
I love that blackwash. Yes. Does anybody else like to say anything? Because I do have Jeanette just actually sparked a question in my mind real quick. So I wanted to know if anybody else wanted to say anything.
Okay, I think I wanted to add this. Like for me, my love for African intensified during my undergraduate studies. Like in my 300 level, we're looking at different means of history writing. Then we started learning deeply into oral tradition, and that was where it started. I was like, wait. So what we've been told that because in where I come from, they refer to African tradition as fetish. It's not supposed to be practiced. You should avoid it. So that was the mentality I grew with. But when I got to 300 level, I was like, wait, are you telling me this same thing I've been asked to avoid is my history? Then I went on, I started doing some research. I tried to Oduesefa, that's what they call it in the Yoruba tradition, in the Ifa tradition. So when I started researching on this Oduesefa, I started reading through the script, and I was like, all of these things, these people's chant, all of these things people say is just our history. So that means if I go start reading all of this, that means it's me understanding my past and getting to embrace who I really am. And that was where my spark for it came. Since then, if I see anyone, like I was discussing with a friend not too long, I was telling a friend that I have so much interest in researching into this traditional African religion, because the religion has so much of our history in it, and if we want to just waive it, we are losing most part of our history. We are losing most part of our history. So my love sparked when I got to discover that this religion I am being told is fetish is my history. I was like, no way, you can't just take me away from that.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that. And this, you know, because it's not being made easy to identify with and to embrace our Africanness, isn't it? We have this whitewash, to just bring the contra, um, this white idea of beauty on the one hand. Okay, so we have, okay, what, you know, everything that doesn't look like us is beautiful. We have this image of Africa as being this poverty-stricken, war-stricken continent, full of negativity. We have these, you know, negative stereotypes about Black men as either lazy or violent or this sexual predators. Then we have there's stereotypes about Black women who are, you know, loud, opinionated, aggressive, bullies, whatever, I don't know, all these kind of things, and having, I don't know, loads of children and all these kind of things. And so it's really like, you know, it is being made, especially with the media and the representation of the negative narratives portrayed in the media, being made very difficult to identify and embrace our Africanness. And I think that's why it is like a journey. That's why I said before, it is a journey to embrace the Africanness and the journey to see ourselves as part of an African global family. And that's why we have all these we have all these we have of all these attacks from all sides, even from our own, because that's what we learned. We learned Eurocentric education. We learned the Eurocentric. We're subjected to Eurocentric standards of beauty. We are, you know, we are surrounded by this idea of this whiteness as something great, whereas the Blackness or an Africanness, on the other hand, it's something not to aspire to be, or not inspirational, not beautiful. So I think that is, and that's why it is a journey of consciousness, I find, or it was for me, and it has been for me, because I don't think I'm there, but it has been for me a journey of consciousness and walking in the consciousness of being of understanding who we are as Africans. Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that to Sister Everici's comment, and also embracing this, you know, African spirituality, and that, because that is something that has been demonized as evil, as devilish, as all these kind of things. Whereas, you know, for me, and I know that will be criticized and whatever, but praying to somebody who is not of your own skin color, right, is for me the epitome of white supremacy. To be
In that
honest,
order.
that is a different conversation altogether. So I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, that's what I just wanted to say. At least, you know, having a look and an honest opinion, on an honest discussion about African spirituality and why it has been demonized, and why our ways of worship have been demonized, and what is the issue like. And I find it interesting. And yes, I'm going to stop here. As I said, I'm very passionate about these things, so I can speak about this forever. But yeah, thank you very much.
As you could
Let me
see,
just
we have good. Oh, okay. I just wanted to give a space for Diana to say something too, because she's been a little bit quiet. So I just wanted to give her some space to speak on the topic a little bit. You on mute though. You on mute, Diana. You on mute though.
Sorry,
Okay,
I was
it's
just
okay.
listening. It was just so interesting to hear everybody's point of view. You know, I'm just taking it all in. I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure we don't miss you though.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still here. I'm still here. Yeah, there was so much to your question. Where I get my strength from is knowing that I have somewhere to go. I can go home. because I know that where I am is not home. And I take great comfort in that, because where I am now, the fire is hot, man. It's hot. It's hot for me. It's hot for my kids. It's hot for Black people. And it has been for a long time, and it's getting even more hot. And things are not going to get easier for us. I know that for a fact. It's going to get worse. And so there is a big movement now. A lot of people who can get out are getting out. You know, so I take great comfort in the fact that there is somewhere that I can go. There is somewhere that I can go. I take a lot of strength from that. My understanding of being an African woman came from a place of pain, because it came from experiencing racism, to the point where I had to go and find out why I was experiencing this. Being born in a predominantly white country, believing that it was my country because I was born and raised here, and not understanding why I'm being treated so differently. I had to consciously make that journey to discover who I really am. Not even my parents had actually really explained it to me in the depth that it needed to be understood. You know, my mother always told me I'm an Englishwoman. Imagine. Yeah, I'm an Englishwoman. When I went to the Caribbean, after 5 weeks, they said, it's time for you to go back to your country. You're Englishwoman, right? Everybody, everywhere I went, I was English. Yet in England, I wasn't treated as an Englishwoman, if you see what I mean. So I had to make that journey. I had to go and read slave narratives to find out where this attitude towards me actually came from. And it was a painful journey. It was a painful journey. But that's where I discovered who I am and why I'm being treated the way I'm being treated. But then I realized I'm African. And I had to read around the slave narrative, because if I had stuck with the slave narrative, I would have had no hope. But thank God there is history out there that teaches me that I'm more than just a descendant of slaves. I'm more than that. There are books called They Came Before Columbus, Stolen Legacy. There are so many books out there that tell us who we really are and why they're treating us the way they treat us. It's not because we're rubbish. It's because we're great. Yeah? But I had to find that out. But it had to come from a place of pain. But I'm glad I made that discovery. And that's all I have to say before I close out with the poem. That's all I have to say.
I'm glad I asked you, girl. I am glad I asked you. I want to bring up one last thing in tying in this all, because, and the Jeanette, I know you were like, well, what did I just inspire in you? But she just bought her child, which was a little girl, you know? And one of the things that I kind of have a situation with DNA tests is because of mitochondrial DNA. So what I'll explain though is that what we're all looking at each other is mitochondrial DNA. We're all women. That is something transferred from our daughters to us, from our mothers. It doesn't go once we have a boy, it stops. You know what I mean? So being a Black woman, looking at each other, and the fact that we are women that have the mitochondrial DNA of the very first woman, right? And to be women, we continue that. That's really where your DNA test would come from. Why it could be a little bit botched, because we don't go by the last name of the woman, we go by the man, right? So, but being that mitochondrial self, seeing you, Janet, with your baby girl, I have a 16-year-old too. What would you speak to our movement for the next generation of queens to not go through the hurtful journey, but just a transformational journey as understanding their plight as Black African women?
So, what would be the advice for young African women?
So because we all had our journeys, but there were some diversity and some turmoil through that, even though it comes with journey, right? But being from where we are to strengthen that, not feeling like I'm not enough. What would we say, being connected to our first and being the next to our babies that we're listening to? What would we say to them?
So first of all, let me apologize because my daughter is here. I want to say to her, so that's that. And I would say, certainly for me, Eva, I know, darling, but give me one moment, please. Right, I would say, do your research from the beginning. Literally, because for me, certainly, I was kind of, oh, I'm Black British, I had, I don't recall experiencing racism at school or anything along those lines. My best friends were white. We grew up in a nice small town outside of London, and and it was fine. I had no issues with my childhood. But then when I started to discover what the empire did and how certain things happened in Africa, and how I came to be in Jamaica in the first place, or my family, came to be in Jamaica in the first place, that doesn't sit right with me then saying, oh, well, I'm a Black British woman. It just doesn't sit right. But then you also, you hear the National Front and what they've got to say about you and everything else. And you do start to experience things that you don't feel welcome. You don't always feel welcome. And so as much as I'm born and bred here, I can't say that, I get stopped by the police regularly or anything along those lines, right? But do I feel welcome here? Do I feel that I am a British woman? No, and I wouldn't want to claim it. It's that simple for me. And I would say, so, do your research for you, because I grew up in the church. And you get told a lot of things, but it was not until I started to find out more about what the Bible says about slavery, and it wasn't until I started to find out more in terms of how Christianity was used in Africa, that I then started to say, oh, hold on, let me step back, let me look at this and assess this for myself as a woman, because I'm old enough now. I'm not a child. When you're a child and you're led to certain things, and you go with it. I would say go to Africa, go there. I mean, I've been once. And it was an amazing experience, absolutely amazing experience. Can't wait to go back. Obviously, now it's a bit difficult, but my plan was to be going to Ghana, within the next X amount of years, and then to Ethiopia, because my daughter's half Ethiopian. That was the plan. So for me, I would say go, experience. I would say do your DNA testing, because it's nice, even though I say, I'm an African, I'm an African queen, and that's it. It's nice knowing actually that, yeah, I'm Senegalese, and I'm Congolese, and I'm Ghanaian, and I'm Nigerian, and I'm all these things, and I can be all those things, and it's okay. And I can be Jamaican, and it's okay. And actually, having said all of that, I am going to do my test again, but this time with a Black company called African Ancestry, and they can actually trace you back to your tribe, supposedly. So, and there's a lot on there, what you were touching on, Diana, in terms of the mother's line, and and how that passes down. So for me, because I'd like to learn about tribes, that I may come from, but I would say definitely do your research and don't listen to what everybody else has to say, because there were a lot of people who had a lot to say about the fact about how I identify. A lot of people.
That's amazing. And I appreciate you even giving that up. And I'm so sorry for, I think we were supposed to have Simbua talk and speak as well. I'm so sorry for overlooking that. But I thank you for Janet B, especially seeing your little girl. Exactly. That connection, I even heard from somebody else. They weren't able to find much on their father's side and went all the way to their tribe on their mother's side. So yeah, using that same ancestry, and they won't sell your DNA. So I apologize for overseeing you, but I think it's time for you to speak as well. So my apologies. Go right ahead.
No, it's okay. I wanted to jump on what Lillian had said in regards to how the media presents Africa. And that's because someone who's from Local, we're very used to people assuming that our next door neighbors are lions, and if I open the door, the first thing I see is an elephant, or I take an elephant to work. or we live on trees, or something very insane like that. And so I think it's just because of how Africa has been represented, but it is not because it's Africa representing itself. It's because the West is giving the story of Africa on behalf of Africa. And so you're not getting the full aspect of what Africa has to offer, because what they're going to show you is the war, the killing, the hunger, the, because I guess Africa is represented as poor on purpose. So we were put as third world on purpose. We weren't in this conversation when countries were sitting down and deciding who was first world, second world, and what was entailed in this. And you see, I find it very interesting because Africa is the richest continent in the world. We have the gold, we have the diamonds, we have the oil, we have agriculture, we have everything. We are basically as we call it, the cradle of humanity, because if it was not for Africa, we have a lot of countries who would not be surviving right now. If it's not from the money from Africa, France will not be surviving right now. If it's not the money from Africa, you're looking at the UK, that would not be surviving right now. So we are basically we are poor on purpose because we need to be that way. Because if we become self-independent, or if we start controlling ourselves and controlling our assets, then we will be, a lot of countries are going to suffer, and that's not something that people want to experience, and especially for those who make sure that Africa remains the way it is right now. I'm a sports person, and I got to know myself and my power as an African woman when I joined the sports industry. As many do know, we are not many women who are seated in boardrooms when it comes to sports, because sports was much known as a man's world. And so we came in, and I remember we were in various meetings and we were discussing football. And we were discussing football in Europe, football in Spain. We were talking about the Premier League. We were talking about the German League. And at one point I kept quiet and I said, "Hey, what about Africa?" And everyone went quiet and looked at me and was like, "What do you mean, what about Africa?" I'm like, we're on a table of African representatives, but we are not speaking about Africa. We are speaking about other European leagues. And it was at that point when I realized something has to change. Africa produces some of the best players in the world that we see today, but we do not have our own league. And why is that? And when we started having this conversation, we realized that a lot of African development is suppressed on purpose. And you find that our leaders are not necessarily elected by us, but also the West has handed it, because they need puppets that they can control to be able to keep the countries and the continent in the situation that they put us in. And that is at that point where we realize, no, we need more women in power. We need more women to change, because every time a woman steps into the hierarchy of power, we see change. So where you stand and where we are sitting, when we say that we need women as presidents, you come and realize countries with women as presidents at this point in time are the ones that have really succeeded in this fight against corona. Look at the countries that have women in them. They are the ones that are doing great. But also Africa needs to be able to be in a position to have African women in power. And of course, as you know, they always are a bit on the tight leash when it comes to that, but the time for us has come. We can no longer be on the sidelines when it comes to decision making, because we are the ones who are giving birth to our children, and our children are the ones who are leaders. We are the leaders, because we are the ones who are changing the nations. We are the ones who are educating people. We are the ones who are making sure that our homes and our countries and our situations are the way we are. Our changes that we make are the ones that we're able to feel the impact. And that is where we stand right now. Because the news that you're getting about Africa is not Africa that gave out that news, which means it's time for Africa to start giving the news for itself. We need to take that right back and tell people, understand, yes, we live in buildings. I currently have Wi-Fi and electricity, and I do not, it's like, it's the power that we currently have as African women to be able to take back our voices and be able to represent ourselves as the way we are supposed to be represented and how we want ourselves to be represented.
Ladies, I could go with you all day, ladies. You are giving me chills right now. It's so true. Like, preach to the choir if you could. You understand? So, and I definitely can continue going with you guys. I hope, but and I can't believe we're actually to our hour, but you could see um how wonderful this panel of women will be, and how enriching the topics at hand would be. I think we just sat here and I literally hearing topics after topics after topics. So I just ask that our audience, I hope that you're enjoying us. I hope that you become a part of our monthly um, panel and discussion. I do want to give it back to our panelists before we say any goodbyes, but our Diana's definitely going to give us the way of closing out with some simple and strong words for us. So I just want to say, from the American side of things, I'm not only here, but thank you, ladies, for letting me be a part of this with you. It's a great honor to see myself in you. And damn, you're smart. I love it. So, but if anybody wants to take any final words, um, um, go ahead, or we could go to our poetry and our poets of our
Okay.
panel.
Okay. Can I say, just before I close out with a poem, I would just like our sister Sayambua to explain Malkia, because I think we need to elaborate a bit more on that before we leave. So please,
Thank
come on,
you. I
sis.
forgot. Thank you. Please do. Ma'am, sorry, forgot.
Okay, being our first show, Malkia is very symbolic because it means queen in Swahili. And I believe that every African woman, no matter where they're from, is a queen because we are descendants of various kingdoms. And in our own standing and in our own nature, we are queens. And that's why this was the most powerful name that I could think of to be able to present all of us because we are queens in our own as ourselves. We are queens in our very own situations. We are queens in our very own countries that we represent, and we are African queens.
In that order.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining to everyone and all of us. Okay. All right. So my poem is, what does it mean to be an African woman? What does it mean to be an African woman? What does it mean to be me? It means to carry a flame in my heart that yearns and burns to be free. It means to want justice and righteousness for my children, husband, family, for we. It means fighting for what is right, no matter what it costs me. What does it mean to be an African woman? It means smiling for the pain of letdowns and betrayal. It means dismissing the pain of heartaches because I hope for a better tomorrow. What does it mean to be an African woman? You mean, what does it mean to be me? It means I'm clean and pure-hearted, and with the help of my powerful brothers and sisters, able to finish everything I started. It means standing in the gap and delivering wise counsel on behalf of those unable to speak. It means being strong even when I'm feeling weak. It means being a shoulder to cry on and giving words of comfort to those whose dear ones have departed. Oh, it means getting mad and angry in the face of injustice. Oh, please don't get me started. It means being passionate, beautiful, even sexy, while being intelligent and smart. It means having to really guard the issues of my heart. It means being beautiful on the inside as well as on the outside. To be an African woman means to be a mother and a wife, a friend, a relative, and all at the same time without any recognition sometimes, or thanks or gratitude for once, but still being able to take it all in my stride. Now, how can I possibly pen everything it means to be an African woman? It is quite impossible. The universe cannot hold all my attributes on paper. Only the stars can attest to my greatness and abilities, because as an African woman, I'm simply blessed with my Creator's ultimate divine favor, melanin. Thank
That
you.
was beautiful. Oh, you guys give me chills. It's just, I thank you so much for even being here with you. You're okay, that's all I'm gonna say. This is amazing, guys. And your vibration and energy literally in enlights me. It brings a flame, you know, and it couldn't make Mother's Day any better for us for us in America today. Today, thank you for that wonderful poem. I am just in awe. I want the audience to please continue to follow us on our monthly journey with our panelists in the discussions of becoming, because I am an African woman. We are queens. Malkia.
Oh, remember, we have a challenge for our audience, Diana.
Oh, right. You want to explain it?
Okay. Okay, so the challenge is that since we've established that we're all queens, so the next topic, I think the next episode we're going to talk about is who's the queen in our life? Who do we consider to be the queen in our lives? And so what we're going to do is put a challenge out there for our viewers to put together a 1-minute video of who the queen is in your life and why that person is the queen in your life. And we're going to ask you to submit your videos. Sister Lillian, do you have the email address of where we should submit the video? Is there a general GPAN email?
Sorry, I was muted.
No.
Yeah, we can. I think we can submit it to Global Pan-Africanism Network .gmail.com. But we're going to put the email address in the comment section later.
Okay.
For anyone who would like to submit a poem, a video. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, just a 1-minute video on who your queen is. That's what, and we're gonna actually share the best ones in the next program. So that'll be really great to hear from you, from all our viewers.
So
thank you.
So definitely, and you'll see me do that a lot to Diana and Lillian. So Diana and Lillian. So that being said, definitely think deep, think hard. Let us know who is the woman in your life, who is your queen, and I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of mine. So thank you so much for a wonderful day today. For our audience, thank you for the kind words of Happy Mother's Day and beautifulness and smiles. And to our baby girl who made a quick appearance, thank you for being on the show with us.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, baby. She's like, nope, I'm not ready. Not ready. So on that note, I just actually want to close out with our awesome video because I just love the song. I love the instrumental. And I hope that you guys all come back and join us for another episode. Thank you so much for this time. We've gone over our hour, so obviously we had great fun. All my ladies, you are amazing. Thank you for the day you just started off with sunshine and brilliance. So if you guys all want to give your own individual goodbyes, and to everyone,
goodbye.
Take
Blessings to everybody.
Bye.
Happy Mother's Day.
Together.
Hey, and it won't work. My computer won't work. It's okay. It's okay.